start with one of the most important parts, or I believe one of the most important parts of a landscape, and that is the sky. Now, a lot of people want to paint a sunset. I do, I like sunsets, but we've got a problem. A sunset can be so inspiring with red sky and the sun coming through, but it can be over the top on a painting, so you've got to be very careful. Don't go over the top. In fact, I've got one here that I did, and it is really starting to go over the top. It's okay, it would just about pass, but be very careful that you don't go over the top. Let's paint a sunset, but let's paint a more subtle one. Now, here we go. First of all, I've done a drawing. I'm doing this on paper, by the way, Whatman paper that's been primed 3 times with an acrylic primer. And I've got a Terpsy wash ready, and I don't know if you can see, I've just drawn some clouds in just to give a guide. And it's one of those sunsets that is, as I say, a subtle one, and it's not going to be over the top. Now, can you see that running? If you don't want it to run, just take it up like that and it disappears with your finger. And one thing is very, very important when you're painting anything, not just skies. You must be and try to be in your mind whatever you're painting. The reason is that as you're painting, your brain is part of it, your being is there, it's coming down through your hand and into your brush, and what you're thinking about is really coming down through the brush and going onto the canvas. So in this case, I'm thinking clouds, and I must think clouds. So while I'm painting it, I'm thinking, I'm a cloud, I'm a cloud. Sounds daft, doesn't it? But it's there, and your paintings will have a lot more feeling in them. Now, these clouds obviously in the distance are getting flatter and smaller because of perspective, so they're going down there. The sun, incidentally, I'm going to have sort of coming around this cloud, so the sun will be coming around there somewhere. Now, I want now to paint the sky around that, around the clouds. Remember, I'll be painting over the clouds again. This is just painted in to get it started. But what I do want, I want some sky painted in between the clouds. And have you noticed already, because I'm using this ochre background, which was a Terpsy wash put on first, have you noticed that even now it's almost looking like a sky? Because where I'm leaving little bits of yellow, it's actually looking like sky or clouds. Now the edges of the clouds I'm leaving and not touching everywhere. I touched up there, but there you can see I'm leaving the edges just slightly because there'll be sun coming through those. And so what I'm doing, I'm just allowing the paint just to miss those edges, and then I can get a nice clean edge on it. Now, I've got to watch because remember I said this is a sunset, and so gradually the colour is getting warmer as I go down the picture. So I'm just adding a little bit of crimson to it, just to go down. I don't want it too warm, but it's just starting to go down into a crimson colour. I'll be adding yellow with it, and this, incidentally, this background is absolutely perfect for it because we finish up with a yellowy colour anyway down near the horizon. So here we go, and notice how the brush is going over there. I'm not being careful, I'm just sort of painting it in, and even the brush strokes are helping to give a bit of feeling to it. Now I'm adding a little bit of yellow ochre to it. Incidentally, the colours that I use on my palette, in other words, and that simply means the colours I'm using all the time when I'm out painting, are crimson or alizarin crimson, cadmium yellow, yellow ochre, viridian green, that's the only odd colour I use, a mixed colour if you like, a green, cobalt blue, and cadmium red. I just want a little bit more yellow in that, and if I've said that right, that's 6 colours, should be 6 colours, and that's what I'm using, I would say, for 80% of my paintings. And I'm just adding a little bit more pink to this, a bit more or orangey colour, a bit more red and a bit more yellow, just to make it a bit orangey. There we are. as we're getting down. Now I'm going to go over that one because it's just making it a bit more subtle there, and I can come back over that as well later, but it's just sort of taking it back, which is nice and subtle. I'm going to break that a little bit, just a fraction. And now just a little bit more orange. It's sort of going into that murky colour now that you get in an evening. That's it, that's nice. That's a nice colour through there. Coming down here. Now this is where I'm going to go over the colours. It gets a little mauve as it goes into the distance now. So I'll just get that colour mixed. Incidentally, I'm mixing in the same area that, that I've mixed all the time. And notice I haven't changed the brush or cleaned the brush. I've just kept going all the way down because the colours above, all up here, are just as important to down here. They're all mixing together. And so as the colours go together, and you get some coming out of the brush when you mix from up there or in this middle here, it's all part of it. It's all part of making the painting look right. We get a bit brighter over there because remember we've got the sun, so I must be careful there. But this is where it starts to really go darker. And again, can you see I'm going over those clouds? And yet they're showing through because I'm rubbing the paint quite thinly over there, and that's rather nice because it does help to take them back and not make them look as hard, and then I can still paint over the top without any trouble when I start painting in the clouds. Never worry, incidentally, how long it takes you to mix on the palette. It's very important mixing, and if it takes you a long time, so what? The important thing is, or it's more important to get it right on the canvas than get it wrong. So obviously if it's going to take you time on the palette, it doesn't matter because you should be pretty well there by the time you put it onto the canvas.